Okay, I'm going to break this down as I know it. Okay. Married couples and single people, they don't think alike in order to function. They don't think alike. They don't speak alike. They are polar opposites. They're oil and they're water. What single people do may work for single people. What married people do may work for married people. But you can't have a marital mindset as a single because that won't work for you. And you can't have a marital mindset as a single. It may prepare you if you're transitioning into marriage, but it will not help you as a single individual. So you see, there's no prudence to being a single minded person when you're in a marriage because that's an individual. Marriage is teamwork. But it is something to be said when you are a single person and you have a single mindset that will work for you. It will not prepare you for marriage. In fact, it'll move you further and further away from marriage. But if you are a single person, in particular, well, I won't even say in particular, but if you're a single person, you can start modeling your mindset to be a marital type mindset. It's almost like speaking it into existence. Okay? For instance, if you are a single person, right? You don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to look out for anybody. The only person you really have to worry about is yourself. But if you want to be married one day and you want to be prepared, whether you're a man or you're a woman, you can start doing little things to get you prepared to be married because to do something that's not in your nature is not something that's going to come easy to you. So, for instance, being accountable, okay? If you start letting someone know where you're going, even if you're single, you always can let someone know, hey, look, I'm going to be here. This is what I'm going to do. That can get you prepared for being married because, you're accountable to your spouse. If, for an example, that's just an example. Another example would be preparing meals, okay? Or getting home at a certain time. These are things that it is necessary when you're married to do these things, but they're not necessary as an individual. And I would even challenge you from an individual standpoint. As you get older, you see that being single works against you because as you get older, you'll need more help for things, this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. So, again, we are made that way. We're made to be interdependent, but we have systems in today's modern age that make it so that we don't have to model our interdependence, because we have crutches that allow us to give us a fictitious view of being able to stand on our own 2 feet. We live in a world where practically everything has been made easy for a woman. Everything from medicine, everything from going from agricultural to industrial to from going to just conveniences, refrigerators, stoves. These are things that once upon a time man didn't have at their disposal, and so drastic measures had to be made for food, or it was feast or famine. It was periods where we ate good, and then there were periods where we didn't have anything to eat. So it's so many different types of things, technology, aerospace. I mean, you name it, across the books, everything has been made so easy that we have these first world problems. And with these first world problems, which are smaller than, third world problems, for instance, We don't have to do certain things. For instance, you can go out there into the world and you can get a job where you don't have to sweat or physically provide for your family. If you learn a skill or a trade up here, you can go and apply it to computer technology from up here, and you can make a quality living and even beyond for those types of things. And even so much so, you may make more money in a white collar position than you may make in a blue collar position, even though the blue collar is really the structure and the foundation for the society that we sit on. But I want to get back to my point here. Okay. I want you to understand, because men and women aren't designed the same, them doing the same things doesn't yield the same results. Let me say that one more time. Men and women are not designed the same. We're asymmetrical. But doing the same things doesn't get us the same results. When we play the card of equality, when we play the card of a woman can do anything that a man can do, it is true. A woman can do many, many, many things that men can do. But because they're not designed to do it, and because of how society is set up, it works against them. For instance, women are hypergamous. Women are very much so by nature hypergamous. They are not settling for anything beneath them, and in most cases, they're not settling for anything at the same level as them. They typically want superior, yet oxymoronic, if you will, they want to be equal. Reality is, women want equal outcomes. They don't want equal work. Women want equal pay, but women don't want to do the same things that men do to get that type of pay. Women don't want to do certain jobs. Women don't generally want to be sanitation workers. Okay, they don't want to necessarily be construction workers. They don't want to be roofers. They don't want to be HVAC. Do we have women that do that? Yes, we do. But when women are given the choice, which the society we live in, we have curated a society where where women get many choices now. Women don't want to opt to do those things, those roll up your sleeve, get down dirty type things. And they are capable of doing them, but they're choosing not to do them. I see women all the time brag about how many guys they have in their DMs, how many options that they have, how many men are clamoring to get with them. And you'll look at these women and you'll go, wow, she looks really good. I guess she's right. She'll go and show you her DMs and you go, wow, these are a lot of men who want her. But the reality of the situation is it's a flex to say that a lot of men are in your DMs that want you and want to shower you with gifts and this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. But in reality, you don't. They don't want those men. They don't want those men. If you listen to a woman, no matter how realistic or delusional she is, and typically because women think with their feelings, they tend to lean more towards the illogical side of things. They tend to prefer dealing with possibilities instead of probabilities. Women will give you some things that may shock you in terms of what they're looking for, and they'll call it a standard for themselves. They'll call it an expectation. They'll say, I don't want to settle for less. They'll do all of those different types of things and say all of those different types of things, but the reality is that's not a standard, it is a delusion. And what I mean by a delusion is, why are you going to expect something that you have never come close to experiencing, and you've never come close to finding. But let's go with that delusion. Let's make a list of things that I heard a woman say, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but this guy had to make an insane amount of money. He had to get paid in an insane amount of frequency. He had to look a certain way. He had to have a certain height. He had to uh, be loyal. He had to be, monogamous. He had to bend to her every whim. And let's just say that she ran across a guy that fit those criterias or that criteria. You would think that she would want to have the ultimate relationship with him, which is to get married, right? Because if a guy were to, if a woman had 7,500 boxes and a guy she ran into actually checked off 7,500 boxes, it would be a no-brainer, right? You could call her, you could call her mentally challenged if she ran across that and then she didn't want to lock that up, right? Because she's got 7,500 boxes to check off, and how many men check off those boxes? So you see, what makes her increase her expectations and increase her standards? Well, time, other women. So if she could find a man that checked off 7,500 boxes that she has, and he checked off every last one, first of all, what's the likelihood of that? Probably not, no matter how beautiful she is. And then the second thing is, what kind of man would that be? Would he have any request? Would he have any standards? Would he have any expectations? And if that man checked off all of the boxes of her dreams, how many other women out there would want that man? Now, when we start talking about beauty, we can fictitiously say beauty is rare, but beauty isn't rare. Beauty's not rare. Or all of those 7,500 boxes, if a man checks off all 7,500 boxes, and I'm exaggerating, but I'm trying to make a point. If a man checked off all 7,500 boxes, my question to you is, how many other men are out there like that? So if that man checks off all those boxes, you're asking that man to not have a clue about his value. See, we could talk about what makes a man valuable and what makes a man valuable and what makes a woman valuable, but at the end of the day, the opposite sex determines and dictates that market. So if you got these expectations, the guy has to be 6'7". The guy has to make 7 figures a year, 7 figures a month. The guy has to have impeccable sex. The guy has to be sensitive and read poetry. The guy has to be fearless. The guy has to be. You can talk about any other characteristics as a woman that you want, but if you have those expectations and they're delusional at best, at worst, if they're delusional and you have those expectations and you actually come across a guy that checks off not even all of those boxes, but 75% of those boxes, don't you think that that man is going to be a hot commodity? So then we go back to the economical terms of supply and demand. So if there is a high demand for something or someone, don't you think that the cost of what's demanded is going to go up? So in terms of dating, the cost of going up is, hey, I'm selling my product, hey, I'm selling my product for $10, but everybody wants it. I'm selling 1,000 of these a day. Wow. Gosh, what if I just raise my price up to $15? The consumers aren't going to want that person to raise the price. But if the consumer wants that product and they can't get it anywhere else or get it quite the way that product performs, that consumer, whether they like it or not, they will pay that. $15, $20. If they decide to take it up to $100, $200, it is a supply and demand. It is how it and what the supplier is trying to figure out is the happy medium of the harmony of how much can I get for this realistically without the consumer saying no thank you. Because if I'm selling a product for $10 and everybody's buying it like hotcakes, no questions asked, I'm going to tweak the price. I'm going to raise it a few dollars. And I'm going to pay attention to the statistics. I'm going to pay attention to the interest of people in my product. And I'm going to pay attention to the conversion of sales of interest to people buying my product. And if I set my price at such a place that my sales start to drop, then I know that I have to slow down on the price raising, and I have to perhaps bring it down, and I call it bringing it down to a sale price, like it's on sale, but I have to subtly shift it into a place where I can get what I need. Now I have to take into consideration the cost of living and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, anybody that's selling a product is not trying to give it away. They're trying to make as much profit off of their product as they can. So when it comes to the dating market, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, if it's something that you have that everybody wants, then you're going to raise your standard. Your price is your standard. You're going to raise your standards and you're going to become more picky. The problem with women and the dating market is they get confused in terms of what the interest a man has about them is really for. And categorically, it's two types of interest that men have when it comes to women. It's I'm interested because I want to have some fun and be entertained, or I have interest because I want something long term and more permanent with that woman. And from a logical standpoint, you say, well, that's easy. Just pay attention and you'll see what somebody is really after when it comes to you. So from a male perspective, if you're looking at me right now, doesn't matter if you find me attractive or not, that's not the point. But if I told you that I was broke and I had no money right now, does that change my appearance? Does that changes my physical features? Does that change my character? Does that change my personality? Nope. So I'm broke and you like my characteristics, you like my personality, you like all of those things about me, right? Now, what if I just told you that I am rich? Okay, same face, same characteristics, same personality. And you say money changed you. No, money magnifies you to be more of what you truly, truly are. Some people just can't exercise certain characteristics about them because they don't have the affordability to be able to do it. They don't have the resources to be able to do it or sustain it. If a person is a killer, but they don't have any weapons, if a person doesn't have the resources to do what it is they want to do, then it, in all likelihood, can't manifest into reality. But if a person has the resources to do what they want to do, then it can manifest itself into reality. When we start looking at Jeffrey Epstein, okay, and we look at what he actually did, a lot of what he actually did and was able to accomplish was because he had the resources to. But if he didn't have the resources to, he could still have the same ideas to do those things, but he literally didn't have the resources to, he wouldn't have the resources to do them. So at the end of the day, it's just a pipe dream. It's just a pipe dream. So you got to be able to have resources to be able to make your dreams come true. You got to have resources to be able to make what's in here be able to come out. You got to be able to have connections and pull to be able to do those things. Back to women. So when a woman turns 18, right, and she's of legal age, right, and she starts to get out and she starts to see how people respond to her. She's not sure yet. Let's just say she's pure at 18. And then she goes out and she just has on a regular dress. She's just conservatively dressed or whatever the case may be. And let's just say, for instance, she never really noticed in comparison to others because she wasn't paying attention that she has a wonderful, whatever that means to you, a wonderful backside, a wonderful butt. She has a set of wonderful breasts. She has a wonderful shape. She has wonderful skin. She has wonderful hair. You know, plug any feature that you want, whatever it is, use the adjective wonderful, right? But she didn't know that because let's just say she grew up in an incubated situation. Once she's exposed and she discovers, oh my goodness, she's beautiful, and everybody's telling her she's beautiful, what she will in what typically happens is she likes the attention. And she may not open her mouth and say, I like the attention and I want more of it, but she starts to accentuate her assets. So if she's got a wonderful backside, okay, she may start wearing articles of clothing that highlight and show that she has a wonderful backside. Now, here is the deal. I don't believe that whether she's conservative or whether she is liberal about how she dresses, I don't think that changes what men want from her. But what her being conservative will do is it will give more clarity to her what people are interested in her about. And it gives her a case for people to focus on the things that she would desire them to focus on. If a woman desires a man, or if a woman desires men to focus on her face, okay, then she wouldn't accentuate anything else, because if that the thing she's accentuating is what men start to notice and get attracted to, then men will focus on what their key feature about her is. So if you run across a man who's a butt man, I'm trying to break this down because I need women to understand the difference between somebody wanting you for sex and somebody wanting you for a relationship long term, so that you can stop bragging about the wrong things, because those guys in your DMs you don't want anything to do with. So if you don't want anything to do, brag about the people that you want something with. You can't have a bunch of unattractive men, a bunch of broke men, a bunch of men that don't meet your standards filling your DMs up and brag about it, because you would never consider those options. And don't try to make people think that you would consider those options, because when a human being innately wants something, they either go for it or they show an interest about it. And most of the time, what is rare is the more rare something is, the more valuable it is. So if you've got, as a woman, if you got 10 fat niggas in your DM and you're not attracted to fat niggas, guess what? You shouldn't count them. You shouldn't even mention them, because you're not even entertaining them. This is about what you would entertain. And if you're at a stage in your life where you wouldn't entertain any men, then you don't need to brag about any men. You only need to brag about what you would entertain. Now, so anyway, if a woman wants a man to focus on her face, she is being a hypocrite if she's saying, hey, focus on my face, but she's showing or accentuating something else more. If she's accentuating her breast, don't get upset because men are looking at your breast. You decided to, well, it doesn't matter what you decided to come outside and what your mindset was when you came outside wearing the outfit you were. It doesn't matter if you say you were wearing it to style on other women. It doesn't matter if you say you did it for yourself. What I'm saying is, because you accentuate it, and you know that men are visual creatures because you living under a rock if you don't think men are visual, then why are you accentuating your breast? Why are you accentuating your butt? Why are you accentuating your legs? Why are you accentuating anything other than what you want people to focus on? So when you get dressed in the morning and you want people to focus on your face, then you accentuate that, because you can't dictate and control who the audience is going to be. You can't dictate and show that up. Do you think a music artist can dictate and show up? Let's just say, I'll use, let's just say uh, a person does pop music and they have a concert coming up. And let's just say they have an affinity for a particular type of group. How can they really control a particular type of group coming up without sprinkles of people outside of that group that may have an interest in their music that want to show up? You certainly can't say, no, we don't want you at our concert, so we're not going to sell you tickets. At the end of the day, you're trying to make money, right? So you're going to take anybody that's willing to buy the ticket. And so a lot of times you might be focused on this type of audience, but that type of audience is really receiving you better. It would be really idiotic for you to ignore who's paying attention to you, to ignore who's supporting you, and to ignore the people that are putting money in your pocket for people that ain't interested in you. And that's kind of like what it is for women, because a lot of women will give their attention to men that don't want from them anything of substance. But in a woman's mind, she thinking that guy's interested in her for for long-term play. And listen, like I said, beauty is not rare. Beauty is not rare. We can go down a list, and I'm not going to. We can go down a list of people that are well known, that are absolutely beautiful. And we can be honest about them being absolutely beautiful. But I want women to understand and realize that just because you are absolutely beautiful, that doesn't mean you're the only one that's absolutely beautiful. Because without giving much thought, I can name 3 women off the top of my head that you may know, that you see on TV, movies, magazines, or in entertainment, that is absolutely beautiful. So beauty is something that is everywhere. Secondly, there are more women on this earth than there are men. And so when you're talking about more women on earth, that means the chances of running across a woman who is beautiful is more likely than the chances of running across a man that is more fill in the blank for what women want. Now, women are not by nature visual like men. Now, women like attractive men. That's not what I'm not saying that they don't, but what I'm saying is it's not as important to a woman as it is to a man. That doesn't mean that it's not very important to some women. I'm just saying if you lined up 100 men and 100 women, the majority of men would put more of a premium on beauty than the majority of women would put more of a premium on handsome. And you got to know that, which it brings me to another side point, and that is women will always move the goalpost and pivot so that the argument looks good for them. So if typically women do this and it is something that doesn't serve her argument, she will have cognitive dissonance from what the norm is, and she'll paint herself out to be the exclusive, the outlier, the abnormal. Do you know why? Because if the facts don't serve women don't feel about facts like men feel about facts. Facts are reality. Women don't deal with reality like men deal with reality. The only time women deal with reality is if reality is serving her. So if everybody thinks she's beautiful and it's not a debate about her being beautiful, she can accept that reality because she wants to be viewed as beautiful. But if the same woman, but if a woman Society didn't view her as attractive at all, just very unattractive. But she wants to be seen as attractive. She will create a fairy tale. She will create a fantasy, and within that fantasy will be her new altered reality, where she will be beautiful in that reality, and she'll walk, she'll talk, and she'll think like a beautiful woman. And being that she actually lives in reality, it will look delusional to reality, people in reality, because she's not an attractive woman to the masses, but she conducts herself and carries herself above what her reality states based on how she's getting feedback from society. I see it all the time. And it's sad because reality is going to tell you what it is. Not just women, but everybody. Reality is going to tell you what it is. And if you don't get, and I'm not saying you have to like everything about reality, because I don't like everything about reality. But you know what I have to do with reality, and you know what you have to do with reality? You have to accept reality for what it is. Hey, a lot of women don't find me attractive. Hey, a lot of men don't find me attractive. I wish I was more attractive, but that's just what it is. I can get this caliber of person, but I can't seem to get that caliber of person to get and have with me what I would like them to get and have with me. Is there anything that I can do about it? Yes or no? If there is anything that I can, oh, people aren't attracted to me because I'm too skinny. People aren't attracted to me because I'm too fat. Well, I can do something about that. I can go to the gym, I can eat better, and I can, do all of those different types of things to improve my body. And then once they approve me, I mean, once my body is where it needs to be, I'll get a different reaction from people. You ever seen a man or a woman? Let's keep it on a man. You ever seen a man take off his shirt and he's muscular? Everything is where it is desirable to be. He's going to get a certain type of reaction from the public when he displays that. Now take it on the flip side. You ever seen somebody who took off their shirt and everything was not where it was supposed to be? That person is going to get a reaction from the public. And if that reaction from the public makes that person sad and makes that person upset, they have a decision to make. They can just accept the fact that they have a body that people are not enthused about. And that's okay if they decide that. Or they can say, you know, I would like to get a different reaction from people, so I'm going to do something about it. And no, I'm not telling you do things for people. I'm just trying to use that as as a basic example of acceptance of reality. But if that person who is not a desirable person and doesn't have a desirable body, when they display it, continue to lie to themselves and say, my body's great, my body's beautiful, my body's wonderful, my body is this, my body is that, and all of these positive reinforcements of themselves. I think it's great to be positive and reinforcing of yourself. But what you do but what you have to do is you have to have the work to go with your words. If you're not where you're supposed to be with your body, you can say, I am beautiful, I am attractive, I am fit. You just can't just say that. You also have to have the action and the work to go with it. So you going to the gym, you exercising, you eating right, you doing the things you're supposed to do. You're saying yes to the things you're supposed to say yes to, no to the things you're supposed to say no to. What happens is when you have the work to align with the thoughts and what you're projecting, then that meets the new reality of your desire. You see, I can't do anything about my height, but I can do something about my weight. I can't do anything about the color of my skin, but I can do something about the quality of my skin. I can't do anything about the shape of my nose. I mean, I can, but we're talking about accepting reality. I can't I can't help I was born with this nose, but I can make sure that I accept my nose. And if I wanted to, which I don't recommend this, if I wanted to go and have the resource, I could get the resources to go and do something about my nose. Now, me personally, I wouldn't do that. I have a big nose, and it's just what I have. But you know what? Somebody likes a big nose. When I met my wife, she always used to do this to my nose, and I said, "What you doing?" She said, "I love your little pudgy nose," and I thought it was funny, but that's what worked for her, and she's always doing this to my nose, and she's always amazed about how soft it is right here. You might look at my nose and say, "Ew, that nose is disgusting," and you may have your opinions about my nose. I really can't do anything about that. But that's why we got to get caught up. That's why we can't get caught up in trying to say, okay, I want to appease that person, so I'm going to alter myself into what they like. You should never entertain anybody that's not interested in you. If a person, the problem about trying to get somebody interested in you that's not interested in you is you will become something that you're not recognizing yourself. And you need to know yourself and recognize yourself for who you are. And if this particular person, you really, really want their attention and they don't have a genuine interest in you, you would be better off just turning and walking away, whether you're a guy or a girl. So you see, that's why you see these girls on Instagram. They are showing they're showing their bodies, and they're showing all of the things that they think people want to see, because they want to get their likes up, they want to get their followers up, and they want to make money, or they want the attention, or whatever it is that they're aiming for. They do that. And you say, well, why? And then some of us look back at those women that are showing too much and say, why are you showing so much? Like, you are so beautiful. You don't have to do that. But they feel like, but the type of attention that I want, I feel like that's my only way to do it. I have to show this, that, and the third about myself. I have to have, and I want a certain amount of money, and I don't know how to go out there and get it. So I have to have a OnlyFans page where I am, doing these sexually deviant things, because that's the only way that I feel like I can make money. And I will say this about beauty. Beauty can be monetized very, very easily, but it's a fleeting monetization method, because you won't always be as youthful as you are. And we all know that age doesn't have the same effect on men that it has on women. The older a man gets can actually, in a lot of ways, in terms of the marketplace, be better for him. So a man doesn't have to face that biological clock. A woman, on the other hand, a woman can come into the picture at 18, and her value may go up a little bit as she learns how to maneuver and understand herself and how to leverage herself properly. But most of the time, because women can't differentiate between good attention and bad attention, she's not going to utilize her beauty in the best ways, and so that's going to help her age faster. Not to mention the fact that she's going to be aging anyway naturally. That's going to work against her. That woman at 30 is not better than that woman at 20. She might be wiser, she might be making more money, she might be doing a lot of the things that she feels is valuable to her, but men don't really care about that in the market. Just because you are 30 and you are outstanding in terms of the interior and the exterior of you, you have so many things that you've learned, you make so much money, your body is so excellent and so wonderful, and this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. You got bodies. You have bodies on you. You have experience on you. And women don't wear bodies and experience well. The more bodies and experience that a woman has, the more it works against her. The more accolades that a woman has, the more resources that a woman has, the more it works against her. And you say, well, how is that possible? It's because of her hypergamous nature. The more she has, the higher she moves up into the stratosphere, the less options she's going to entertain. She's going to get more options, but getting the options that she wants, that's not what's happening. She's getting more, she has more choices. But what good is a choice if you would never consider it? Yeah, you weren't making a lot of money and this, that, and the other, or whatever the case may be at 22 years old. Okay, but you were gorgeous. But didn't nobody know about you because you didn't know how to share to the world you're beautiful. Okay, so now you're 32 years old, right? And I'm not going to even say you got any kids, but you're 32-year-old woman now, and now everybody sees you, and so everybody acknowledges that you're beautiful, and everybody wants to get close to you. And so indeed, you do literally have more options at 32 at this point than you did when you were 22. And a lot of women look relatively the same at 32 and 22, right? We can agree to that. We can agree. If you look at Maya, the singer Maya, the R&B singer Maya, and you look at her age now, and you go back 25 years ago, it would be very difficult for you to find how any differences. Her appearance is still immaculate. She's still beautiful. She's still gorgeous. She's still youthful looking. The only difference from the eye, the naked eye is she looks exactly the same. She would have to tell you that she is her age now versus her being 25 years older because 25 years has passed. But the problem with her in her elevation, and I'm not saying this is her problem, I'm just using her as an example. The thing is, because she's more well known now than she was maybe 25 years ago, for instance, 30 years ago, for instance, the difference now is there's more awareness of her. She's done more shows, she's done more appearances, so her awareness is going to increase. And when her awareness increase, you quite naturally, men are going to see her, and the more men see her, the more men are going to be like, "Oh, she is so gorgeous, she is so beautiful. I want her." But the caveat to it is, even though she's got more eyes on her and more men show an interest of some sort to her, the question is, how many of those options is she going to look at and really entertain? So what she entertains in terms of her options is what counts. So if she's got 250, so let's take that to Instagram. If you have 200 followers, and out of 200 followers, 10% of them are interested in you, then that's 20 followers that are interested in you. 200 follow you, but 20 of them want to get with you. And out of the 20 that want to get with you, whether it's pure or whether it's impure, in terms of their interest of you, are you going to entertain all 20? Probably not. So if you're not going to, so let's say out of 20, you entertain 2. I can understand you bragging about the 2, but I cannot understand you bragging about the 20, the other 18. Well, why? Because it's not a flex to brag about somebody that doesn't meet your bar. And guess what? The more successful you are, the more you entertain. The more demand there is for you, the more the price goes up. Having 200 fans and having 20 of them engage with you. Do you understand how much easier it is to engage with them? When they leave, when those 20 leave a comment, you leave a comment back. If one of them wants to arrange to meet with you, you can arrange to meet with them. Now let's take that same scale and let's scale it up. And instead of 200 followers, let's say there's 2 million followers. And let's use that same 10% engagement scale and say instead of 10% being 20 from 200, let's just say 10% of 2 million, which is 200,000. Okay? Now 200,000 people are engaged with you, right? And now let's just say out of that, remember when I said 20? Out of 20, 2 of them was what you would entertain? Well, let's use the same deal on 10%. And let's just say out of 200,000, 20,000 you would entertain. Just for the scaling purposes. Why are you bragging about 200,000 or 2 million that you got? When in actuality, the only ones that you would really, really entertain is 20,000. 20,000 is what is interested in you that you would entertain. Then I understand you talking and bragging about 20,000. But if a relationship is what you want, then you should go look in your 20,000. Because like I said, you should only entertain people who have a genuine interest in you. Let's just say in this case 20,000 people had a genuine interest in you. And you mean to tell me that you never pick anyone out of those 20,000? You brag about it. So the point of the matter is, what you brag about, you don't even entertain. Do you understand the math of that? But you feel like 200,000 is a bigger number than 20,000. So you're going to brag about 200,000. And that's where the delusion and the overinflation comes from. Yeah, these 200,000 people are interested in you from your 2 million, but 180,000 of them you wouldn't give the time of day. So don't brag about that. That's called being delusional. Because it's really whatever you would entertain. And if out of your following, out of your DMs, you wouldn't entertain any of them, then just don't brag. You just say, hey, look, I haven't found what my standard is. I'm having a hard time finding it. If you would just understand that your hypergamous nature is going to work against you as well as work for you. You brag about how it works for you, but the higher you go up, the more rarefied the air is up there, the less choices are going to be up there. Because for a man to get up to that stratosphere, he has to put in a lot of work and do a lot of things, because a man is worth nothing. He has to earn his value. But when the higher a man goes up in earning his value, the more attention he's going to get. The more attention he gets, the more choices he has. And because men are not hypergamous, men are going to entertain more of their choices than women. So a woman that has 1,000 options, she's not going to entertain all 1,000 options. But if a man has 1,000 options, because his expectation and criteria is nowhere near as high as a woman's expectations and criteria, he's going to entertain more of his 1,000 than she is her 1,000. And she can brag about her 1,000, but she ain't really going to entertain her 1,000. That man is going to entertain. And in that 1,000, for men and women, some got no money, some got a lot of money, and some got mid money. And And a woman is not going to entertain anybody that doesn't have as much money as her or more. So she's going to process of eliminate just by her hypergamous nature. Let's take beauty. Okay, you're going to have beautiful men and women. You're going to have mid men and women, and you're going to have ugly men and women, or unattractive. I don't like the word ugly, but unattractive men and women, right? A woman's not going to entertain unattractive men as much as men would entertain unattractive women because of what is important to men. What is most important to men is cooperation. So a beautiful woman who is uncooperative, when he has the choice, he's not going to choose her because there's so many women that are out there that are beautiful. Matter of fact, if a woman isn't attractive, makeup can make her attractive. Or going and getting fixed is a possibility for any woman. So if a man has to choose between an attractive woman who is unruly and not cooperative versus a woman who's not attractive, as nowhere near attractive as her, but is very cooperative, that man is going to choose that less attractive woman. And you say, I thought you thought men were visual. We are visual. We would like to have an attractive woman, but that cooperation is going to be way more important because she's going to be a headache and a nightmare for you as a man. Now, the more options that a man chooses, the higher he can, the more picky he can be about attraction. So maybe that unattractive girl is very cooperative, but he's found a mid attractive girl that's cooperative too. So he will naturally choose the mid cooperative woman because they're both cooperative to the level that he desires, but this one is a little more attractive. So attraction, we are visual creatures by nature. Attraction is all we can go on when we first see you, but it's not what we only stay on. That brings us, that draws us to you, but it's your characteristics and your cooperation that'll keep us to you. Because in an unruly world, a woman who is cooperative is gonna have a better chance of bringing that man peace and happiness. And if you notice, you see men when they're single messing with some gorgeous women, right? That they're just like, I'm not saying all men, but I'm just saying this can happen a lot. You ever seen a man who's always around a baddie, but then when he gets married, you get surprised at who he gets married to? You'd be like, man, I thought maybe your wife would be a baddie like the girls that you always mess with. But what you don't realize is he's more tolerant of an unruly, non-cooperative baddie for the purposes of entertainment and sex. A woman can be snapping her neck and snapping her fingers and wringing her neck, and she can be doing all of that other stuff like that. But if he doesn't want anything serious with her, he'll say whatever she wants to hear, do whatever she wants to do to his tolerance, just so he can have access to sex with her. But he doesn't want anything to do with her. But now men are irresponsible with their seed. So the danger in dealing with somebody that's unruly is if you get her pregnant. Now you're dealing with an unruly mother, and she's going to do things that's against what you would want for your son or daughter, or sons or daughters. So men, we have to be careful with where we put our seed. And you can pretty much say, okay, if you're going to hit it raw, you're pretty much asking to have a child, okay? That's how you got to look at it. So when you're sitting there and you're about to lay down with a woman, you got to ask yourself, what if I get her pregnant? She's already an unruly person. That unruly nature should either make you wrap it up or it should make you zip it up. Preferably the latter. Because stranger things have happened with a condom. So A man working on himself to have options before he lays pipe on somebody. That's what you do. Um, I remember, um, I'm not going to go into specifics. Okay, I'm not going to even go into specifics about this. But let me just say this about women and men. All right. We know some of the things that men and broadcast what some of the things men will do for sex. But do we ever talk about the things that women do for sex? Now, really, really, really beautiful and attractive women don't have to do anything for sex. It's on a platter for them, right? It's on a platter for a man when he has the characteristics, not the characteristic, the resources and things like that that women want. He doesn't have to look for women; they'll find him. I remember when I was in college, I didn't look any different than I did before I got to college. But because I had clout playing football in college, being on the team in college, there were girls that would come and talk to me. There were girls that were interested in the physical aspect of me because not because I looked any different before college, but because I had clout. Let's be real. And because I had many different options, I could choose. But before a man knows he can choose, a man can fall into choosing anything. That's why men will knock down anything. A lot of men, and I can attest to this, have knocked down some women that we ain't too proud of. But you know what? To men, a win is a win. And if a man is trying to get some draws, a lot of times a man will take what's available to him. If he doesn't have much options and the only few options that he have is unattractive, will get unattractive, unbecoming, you know what? He might be a little more quiet about it, but he gonna go and do what he gotta do. Because that's how men are. So what I'm saying to you is this, even though it's important, beauty is important for a man, sometimes it gets thrown out of the window. And when it comes to a life partner, it becomes less important. We want it, but it becomes less important. When we have the choices when we can afford to be picky, we will choose the best looking girl that's cooperative. And I'm trying to keep it very, very simple. Because if a woman is cooperative, everything else falls into place. But if a woman is not cooperative, everything else falls out of place. I've been with women who are very exceptionally beautiful, but non cooperative. And it was nothing but headaches, heartbreaks, and tough times. I've been with women that they aren't as attractive, but they're very cooperative. And yeah, over the course of time, I stopped messing with them because I want something more attractive. But that's when I realized that I have the option to get more attractive while still getting cooperation. But you're gonna so what a woman brings to the table that's really, really valuable. So and I'm gonna give you the cheat code is cooperation. So when a man says, "What value would you bring to my wife? What value will you bring to my life?" If you can walk it, because that's important, you just can't say it. If you can walk it, then you just say cooperation. Because what good is your money if you ain't bringing it to the table? And a lot of women out here feel like, I'm not paying bills. What do I look like going? Do I look like I go 50-50? There's a lot of women that feel like that. Okay. So how much money you make? So you can't turn around and make your money a flex either. Because a man want to feel needed. And if a woman is being braggadocious about how she doesn't need a man, that's not a flex that's going to work into her advantage. If a man don't think that a woman needs him, he's going to be less likely to want to build with that kind of a woman because she's going to be quick to flight. Anything's going to get her up out of there. But a woman who is cooperative, that shows that she needs you, that shows that she values you, she's not going to leave. Now, I know we got this stuff going on with Jay-Z allegedly and Beyonce allegedly and all that other stuff like that in terms of the P. Diddy stuff that's going on or whatever the case may be. But I want you to pay close attention to the fact that Beyonce and Jay-Z are married. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed walls. But what we do know is that Jay-Z had extramarital affairs. Now let's look at Beyonce physically. Beyonce, we can all agree, whether she's your type or not, Beyonce is an attractive woman. But attractiveness on a woman is not rare. It's very common. Because if you look beside her in Destiny's Child, we can all say that all of the Destiny's Child members, no matter how you rotate them in and out and at what point, they were all attractive. It's just preference. Some would say that one is more attractive than the other, but we're going to focus on Beyonce. Beyonce is a very attractive woman. Whether she's your cup of tea or not, you got to look at her and say, well, she takes care of her body, it seems. She looks good in her clothes. She's attractive. And really and truthfully, I believe that all people are attractive if they take care of themselves. Your nose is your nose. Your lips, your eyes, your height, your weight. I mean, well, not your weight. Your height is what it is. But if you are making sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, congratulations. You might not be somebody's type, but you are attractive. You are attractive. And every day you should be trying to work on yourself. I'm not talking about going out there artificially and doing it, but every day you should be working on yourself to say, I'm going to work on this to make it the best that it can be. And let me see what it does. Then you have a right to say I'm a 10. If you keep running around and saying you're a 10, you're basically saying there is nothing that you can do to me. There's nothing that I can do to myself at this point to make it any better. You have no business saying that you're a 10 when aesthetically there is something you know you can improve about yourself. Now this is gonna hurt some people, okay? But it's reality. If your stomach has fat, you can improve that, right? So there is no way you can say you're a 10 if you've got something that is obvious on you that could use improvement. I'm not talking about you everything being where it's supposed to be and you taking care of your face and this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. And from a preference standpoint, you're just not certain people's cup of tea. That doesn't exempt you from being attractive. You were created as a woman to be attractive. It's just about preference. It's just about preference. I'll give you an example. Let's take Heidi Klum. Heidi Klum, even now, but especially in her heyday, Heidi Klum did not have misplaced fat on her body. I'm not saying her body was perfect, but she was conscious of her body. She was conscious of her appearance. She was conscious of her beauty. And so she did the things that she felt like she needed to do to get the most out of that. So unanimously, we can all agree, whether she's our type or not, that she's attractive. She just might not be your cup of tea. But let me tell you how it works for a man. A man can see her and say, that's not my type, even though she's attractive. But if he gets around her and spends some time around her, and he discovers that it's painfully obvious that, not painfully, but he discovered that is obvious that she is super cooperative, he's going to consider her for building more than he would consider the woman who is he finds more attractive. And ladies, you need to understand that is the true nature of, not a male, but that's the true nature of a man. A man that does not have that type of nature, you don't want to settle down with anyway. It's the ones you're bragging about that you do not want to settle down with. And let me tell you something. Women want access to relationships just like men want access to sex. I'm telling you. You can have access to any man you want if you're attractive because you control sex. But you cannot, and I repeat, no matter how beautiful you are, you cannot have access to relationship unless that man gives you access to relationship. I was married. I'm in my I'm in my second marriage, right? In my first marriage, after going through my first marriage, I said, I never want to get married. And the reason that I said I never want to get married is because of the experience I had in my first marriage, coupled with the fact that a lot of those characteristics from an unruly and personality standpoint with other women out there, I saw that too. And it was bleak. And I said, oh my gosh, women are so uncooperative and independent and unruly. I those are not character those That's not a recipe to get married. So I don't want to get married. That's what I felt. When I met my wife, I didn't say I looked at my wife and acknowledged, oh wow, she is gorgeous. But gorgeous wasn't enough to move the needle for me. What moved the needle for me and changed my mind was her cooperation and how she fit to me. I said never because I thought it didn't exist. And oftentimes we typecast everybody based on our experience. And my experience up to that point was what it was. But when I got a new experience, I got a new leash on life. I got a new outlook on relationship, and I became open to some things that I thought I would never open. So even if you're saying never, never say never. It's some archetype. It's some prototype. And I'm not saying it's one person, but it is somebody that will fit to you. And you'll know it when you see it. That's why men don't have to chase women. All men have to do is chase their purpose. And you don't really chase your purpose. You just do your purpose. Because when you are doing your purpose, everything works out. Because you've got everything that you're weak at, you're supplemented. And everything you're strong at, you exhibit. So a man doesn't really have to look for a woman. As a man gets more closer and closer into his purpose, it's going to attract to him what is supposed to be attracted to him. And then when he has what is attracted to him presented to him, he can call it what he wants to call it. So that's literally, if a man says, I don't ever want to be in a relationship monogamously anymore, and he goes on about his business and not focus on relationships, and he just focuses on what he's supposed to focus on, you think it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, if he focuses on his purpose and a woman is presented to him, he can still stand on his 10 toes on his square and say, I want you around. But I'm not going to be in a monogamous relationship with you. And guess what? If that person comes to him purposefully, she will be fine with his decision. But a man's not going to be bold unless he's walking in his authority. So if a man says, look, I don't want to be out there messing with a whole lot of women, but I do want 2 or 3 women that I can count on. For the right person, for the right girl, they're not going to have an issue with that. They're going to still want to be attached to him, and they're still going to want to cooperate with him. But now the wrong girl, if she hears that, she's going to say, you must have lost your mind. You are out of your mind if you think that I'm going to share you. You are out of your mind if you think that I'm going to do this. And you're out of your mind if you think I'm going to do that. Well, and she's entitled to feel that way, and she's entitled to express that. But he's entitled to say, well, we're wasting time here. This isn't going to work. Have a good life. See, when a man is really truly walking in his authority, he doesn't have to pretend to be something that he's not. He can be unapologetically and authentically himself. And for what is supposed to be aligned to him will align to him. And that's what today's modern women don't understand. This cocoon of what you want around you, as if the world centers around you. It's a man's world, to be real. And it's always been a man's world, according to the Most High. Because when the Most High deals with human beings, he deals more directly with men. Look at the what whether you believe the story or not, whether you think it's real or whether you think it's allegorical. The point is made. When Adam and Eve messed up in the Garden of Eden, God came and looked for Adam. When he dealt with the woman, she deflected. And the man was ultimately held responsible for him and Eve being kicked out of the garden. He was held responsible because at the end of the day, you can take your woman's advice, but the decision is yours as a man because you're responsible for yours. And the woman was sent to him and presented to him. And Adam determined, this will be flesh of my flesh. God didn't tell him what that woman was for, but God just only presented to him for Adam to make a decision. Adam could have called her hoe. Adam could have called her friend. Adam could have said, this will be my enemy. Adam could have called her anything he wanted to call her because Adam had the authority to call her what he wanted to call her. He decided to call her flesh of my flesh. Because remember, there was no legal marriages back then. What consecrated marriage was sex. And it don't get no closer than flesh of my flesh. Right? And so today, no matter how society has tricked you or tricked anybody else, the reality of the situation is women are to submit their authority to the man that they find and deem worthy of submitting their authority to. I'm not saying that women need to submit to all men. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if a woman is going to be with a man, it's a waste of her time to be with a man that she can't submit to in totality. You say you can't respect all men. I understand you can't respect all men. There are a lot of men that ain't worthy of getting respect, and they do some crap and they disqualify themselves from being respected. I think all people deserve basic respect, but I do think you can do something to lose respect. And so I understand when you say some men are not worthy of your submission. But if you're going to be with a guy, the first box that must be checked is this man worthy of my submission and cooperation? No matter how masculine you're running around, don't jump into a relationship, ladies, unless you can say for sure, this is a man that I can close my eyes and blindly let him lead me. I believe in his vision and where he's going and where he's trying to take things. I want to go with him. So you submit to that man and you cooperate. Whatever he needs, you cooperate with. Because you're not going to find your truest passion, your truest joy and fulfillment in life unless you find because you're interdependent, just like men are interdependent. We are interdependent upon each other. You're not going to find fulfillment in your life until you find the one that you can completely and utterly surrender and submit to. And guess what, baby girl? He's not going to hurt, harm, or endanger you when you do that. Yes, you make yourself vulnerable, but a man is supposed to protect your vulnerabilities. So you have to do a better job of choosing who you surrender to. And the reason that you are not good at choosing who you surrender to is because you use more feelings in your thoughts and less logic in your thoughts. You know why a woman must always be covered from the day she's born? Because of this, amongst other things. Because of this, she must be covered. This is why back in the days of old, A man had to give a dowry to the father of the expected bride. He had to prove to the father something. But now we live in an age where the father's been removed in many homes, especially in our community, black community. 80% of the people 80% of the children that come into this world come into a single parent home. They come into this world out of wedlock. And they're at a huge disadvantage because of that. And the system incentivizes our women to do that. Because they're not going to give you all of these free benefits, SNAP, TANF, and name it, Section 8. They're not going to give that to a woman that has a man around. So a woman has to first come to the decision, that's not going to be beneficial to me because it's a limitation on what the government's going to do for me. There's no limitation on what my man will do for me, speaking like from a woman's perspective is what I'm doing. So I got to just find the right kind of man. And so in the process, until I find the right kind of man, I need to remain as pure as possible. And I need to remain focused and steadfast on preservation. But I understand as a woman, I don't have a lot of time because I have the biological clock working for me. I need to be laser locked focused and less focused on these other things that don't matter. You say, well, what about my career? I make good money, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. A man don't care about that. And unless you are bringing that to the relationship, saying, hey, listen, I make $150,000 being a blankety, blankety, blank, and I'm bringing all of that pushed to the table, then your money doesn't matter. It does matter if you're pushing it to the table. Hey, I make $150,000 a year. I'm pushing that to the middle of the table for you to submit, for you to do whatever you feel is best. A lot of you can't fathom doing that. But that's the man that you're not supposed to be with. You're supposed to surrender everything that you have in terms of anything that's going to help. You need to submit it to the table, totally, without hesitation. And I get it, ladies. It's not a lot of men out there that would do that. And that's why I'm saying the more you have to offer, the harder it is for you to find the man that you want, because you've got to go, because you have the nature to be hypergamous. When you don't make any money, you're more susceptible to accept a man that makes any money. But when you make some money, you are only susceptible at worst to being with a man that makes about the same amount of money as you. Same amount of money as you. You make $30,000 a year, you're saying I can't be with a man that makes less. If you make that's a bad example. If you make $75,000 a year, yes, let's just say you make $75,000 a women, $75,000 a year, ladies. Okay, it's gonna be a challenge for you to be with a man that makes $43,000. But here is the reality: the average black man makes $43,000. And what is average? Average is the middle. That means most black men are making $43,000. No matter what their character type is, no matter what height they is, no matter how good or bad they are in bed, they make $43,000. So in that pool of people, there are all types of personalities, characteristics, ways, and leaderships. And there is a person that would pair well with you, but your hypergamous nature is going to make you reject it 9 times out of 10. You know what you got to do, ladies? You got to fight your hypergamous nature and find a man of quality that you can work with and roll up your sleeves and help that man with his vision. What you need to be asking when you talk to a man and you're trying to be, and you want something serious, is you want to know what his vision is for the next 3 or 4 years. That's the first question. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 4 years? And listen to him. That's your opportunity to determine if you approve of what he is saying, his vision. Now, if he says, hey, I want to do this, that, and the third, and you go, I can't see that. That ain't gonna work. You could ask further questions to get more clarity. Okay, what steps do you need? What's the next steps to take towards that? How long have you been looking to do that? If a guy says, for an example, if you ask him, where do you see us? He working a job making $43,000, and you say to him, where do you see yourself in the next 3 or 4 years? And he says, I'm glad you asked that. I really see myself, starting a Medicare agency, and having a few employees under me. Now, overall, that sounds good. When you think about it, you think about a Medicare agent that's very successful. They make a lot of money, okay? But then you say to him after that, you say, how long have you wanted to be a Medicare agent? And then if he says, and now let's just say, for an example, he's 35 years old and he wanted to be a Medicare agent since he was 25 years old. Of course, if he said, man, it's probably been 10 years since I wanted to do that. The next question is, well, why haven't you done that? And if he says, I don't know, then that might be a red flag for you. Because there are people, you know why they call it dead end jobs? Because a lot of people will go, okay, listen, if a job pays $15 an hour, right? Let's just say a job pays $20 an hour. Okay, so you say 20 times 40 is $800 a week. 800 today is in modern day is not a lot of money. But let's just say 800 times 32, and then you say 32 times 10, that's 32,000. Okay, and then you add 6,000 to that, that's 38,000. Let's say he's making $39,000 a year. That's not a lot of money. That's short of the average, which is 43. But let's just say that he makes 39. Let's say he makes $40,000 a year. Okay, and let's just say, okay, this is why they call it a dead end job. So that job, like clockwork, pays every payment interval. What it pays, whether it's $1,600 every 2 weeks or it's $800 every week before taxes and before any benefits come out. Okay, cool, got it. All right, so here's how it's a dead end. A job is a means to an end, and there's nothing wrong with working a job, and it's certainly not anything working a job and making whatever kind of money you're making. It's not about where you're at, it's about where you're going, and that's the plan. So you run across a guy who you say, hey, what do you plan on doing in the next 3 or 4 years? And they say, hey, I want to do an insurance agency. I want to have a Medicare agency. How long you wanted to do that? Man, as far as I can remember, I mean, maybe like when I got out of college, be like, have you ever worked towards doing those things? No, I really haven't. Why? I don't know. Now this guy has come out of college, knew he needed a job, and he got this job making $40,000 a year. And other than the little 5%, 3%, 2%, 4%, whatever it is, I can't remember. Other than that kind of raise every year that he gets on his job, he's not really keeping up with the cost of living, right? And so if this guy has been working at this job for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and hasn't made any changes, any moves, or moved up, or whatever the case may be, it's all likely possible. Yeah, he might maintain and hold on to that job, but he ain't gonna really do anything else because history shows that he had a lot of period of time to grow and make changes, and he didn't. And that may be okay. I'm not saying you turn away from that guy. You just have to look at that guy and you have to say, okay, but am I okay if things never change? And if you are not okay with things never changing, then that might be somebody that you don't want to entertain. But if you are saying you're the motivated one, you are the go-getter, you are the trendsetter, then in that relationship, that man might just be the $40,000 a year guy, and then you're the one that has these real estate ambitions and make those things happen, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. And I've seen that happen. I've seen women who when they get over their hypergamous nature, they can really receive a blessing. They end up getting a quality guy who stands on business and who stands on his square and who is loyal to you, and who is monogamous to you, and who is faithful to you, and all that other stuff like that. And he works his $40,000 a year job, no matter what your income improves to. But if you have the mindset of team, he makes $40,000, you may make $75,000, and you start realizing your dream, and next thing you know, you're making $750,000. But you don't lord that over him, it can work. But why it typically doesn't work is because your hypergamous nature is going to have you saying something or doing something out of pocket. That man's ego is going to be hit, that man's pride is going to get hurt. And then that man's not going to stand being in a relationship like that. So whether it's his fault or your fault, either your hypergamous nature is going to put him in a tough spot, or the fact that he is going to be in a situation with you where he feels like he is a doormat and he's not appreciated and he's emasculated because of your income. Then it is what it is. But if you sit there and you say, all right, I'm going to upgrade him, I'm going to lift him up. So when you're going from $75,000, $150,000, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be, you say, hey, instead of coming and saying, hey, work for me, you treat him like a king, and you be like, this is ours. Why don't you stop doing that over there? And would you like to come over and help me? If he says no, respect that and go make it happen. But if he says yes, he comes over there, this, that, and the other, just don't undermine him by trying to remind him that you make all of the money, this, that, and the other. You can't do that as a woman. You have to be in a supportive role. And you being supportive, you might have way more money. Let me tell you something true about me. When I first met my wife, I didn't have any money. My wife had all the money. When we went out to dinner, when we went to this theme park, when we went this hotel, we went to this place, that place, we did this, that, and the other. My wife was always paying the bill. But she never emasculated me with that. And I can have great pride, great ego. But she never emasculated me. No matter if we were upset with each other, she didn't emasculate me. But by the same token, I wanted to be able to be in that position to offer her. And so that's why I grew. And that's why I started making more money. So you can be making more money than him, and it can motivate him. But if a man has found his comfort, if he's found his place, just continue to create an environment for him that gives him peace. And in return, he will create an environment for you to feel safe. So this notion that a man has to show me, that's really not what the design was. The design was for you to show him. And you don't need to be going out there and showing everybody. You just need to identify who's worthy of showing it to. But if you're sitting there saying, I don't have to prove anything to a man, or if you're sitting there saying, what do I offer a man? my beauty, my presence. No. You have to create an environment for a man to have peace. Because when a man has peace, he's at his optimal, maximum, apex. And he'll want to protect what gives him peace by nature. Even if he is not the fighting type, he is not going to let anybody disturb his unmistakable peace. And a woman can cause an unmistakable peace for a man by creating and curating an environment where he has peace. He can go through anything that he needs to go through if he knows that he can come back and get recharged. He'll go through any amount of crap in this world, but when he comes home and he knows he's going to get peace. Whether that means you breaking him off a piece, which gives him peace, let me tell you, or whether you are providing an environment. I tell you, I come back. If a man comes home and you know that he is going to be tired, and you already have the bath water hot and ready, it doesn't take a lot. You reach over the tub, you turn the knob, you let it run, and then you put, if you want to, you put something in it, Epsom salt, something to soothe him, lavender, whatever the case may be. When he walks in the door and he smells the lavender, when he walks into the when you direct him to the bathroom and tell him to take off his clothes and get comfortable, and he sits in the tub, you think that's going to create anarchy? You think that he can be in the worst mood. That's going to lessen his bad mood. If you know that he's going to be very hungry when he comes home, because he always comes home hungry, and you've got a meal prepared for him or whatever the case may be, I'm going to speak for myself. Even if it's not what I preferenced for that moment, like I had a taste for this, but that was made, I am appreciative. I don't come in here like, man, you didn't fix me what I wanted to be fixed, woman. I don't do that. I'm grateful for what, because you know what? It might not have been what I specifically wanted, but because she knows me, she knows what I like. So it might not be what I specific. Maybe I wanted chicken and she had fish, but I like fish. So if she made fish, I'm not gonna say I don't like fish, because she wouldn't have made it if I didn't like it. So and the better in tune, she might even say, "What would you like to eat?" And I'll say, "I want fish," or "I want chicken," and then she'll make chicken and fish, and then direct communication solves the problem. I get out of the a man get out of the tub, because I don't want to talk about me. I want That's none of your business. But a man gets out of the tub, he dries off and he gets all freshened up. He feels a little bit better. The lavender and the hotness then soothed him, and he comes back, and he's in a little better state. And she looks at him and she says, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Yeah, I feel a little bit better. I had a hard day at work." And she says, "You want to talk about it?" And he says, "Nah, not really." Or he says, "Yeah, the daggone fax machine just kept getting stuck and da 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 da," or whatever he says, whatever the case may be. And she's just listening to him, and she's trying to read him to see where or if she can apply something. And it might not be anything that she can apply. She might just say, "I'm glad you made it home safe." That might be the only thing she said. "I'm glad you made it home safe. Why don't you go in the back and get comfortable, and I'll be right there." And he does. He goes and he sits down and he gets comfortable. Let's just say he went and ate his food, and she says, "Well, go sit down and get comfortable." And then he says, "Okay," or whatever the case may be, whatever the order is. And he goes back there and he sits down. And then she comes around the corner, and she gives him the sexy look. Because a lot of y'all think you got to put on Victoria's Secrets. And really the only thing you have to do is just have a t-shirt, nothing else on. I'm telling you, men are very simple. But if you've got the Victoria's Secret, you want to do that, that's fine. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, even if you just come back there and you just start getting a little more comfortable, you take off your clothes, and then you go over and hug him, go over and kiss him, you know, say something nice to him. It's not really much. And then you go ahead and you give him some pressure release. You don't think doing that creates an environment of peace? You know how rare that is for that to be consistent? And you think that that man's going to allow anything to get in the way of interrupting that? A great man is less likely. He's going to be more thoughtful and more calculated when he goes out there. But if you're sending that man out there and he ain't got no peace, you're sending that man out there and he's hungry, you're sending that man out there and he is horny, well, the odds are going to go up. And I'm not saying that if you do all of those nice things that he's going to be monogamous. Now, let me say this about men. Look, man, if you don't want to be monogamous, man, you need to be real, and you need to tell your girl. And y'all need to work it out, or y'all need to amicably agree to disagree. Something. You need to just be real about what you want, what you expect, what you're looking for. Because most men are by nature polygynous. You don't, and then the problem is when you go out there and you go behind her back and you sneak, and then something happens that you can't hide. Well, now what really devastated her is the dishonesty. Because really, cheating is doing something that your partner doesn't know. That's cheating them. But if you tell them that's what you want to do, you tell them that's what you're going to do. And men, that's what you have to do. Men, it is your job to align your life righteously. But it's not your job to live the life that your woman wants you to live. you need to live the life that the Most High wants you to live. And some things the Most High has for you to do, your wife may not be totally enthused about it, but it's your wife to get with your program. It's not your job to get with your wife's program, because you've seen it time and time again. When a man gets with a woman's program, the problem with getting with a woman's program is a woman changes too much. And because she changes too much, you'll always be trying to get with her program. When a woman gets with a man's program, because we're so simple, once she makes the adjustment, she really doesn't have to make any adjustments anymore. Let me say that again. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. But a woman, once a woman gets in alignment with a man and develops the habits that work in terms of cooperations with a man, she can really find herself getting on autopilot, and she really doesn't have to adapt and change much at all once she's finished the transition. Because men are typically consistent. I'm not talking about boys. Not talking about males. I'm talking about men. Men are going to be consistent, and it's just a matter of what he needs. Now, when you conform to a woman, I appreciate your romantic self trying to conform to a woman. But when she changes, when she moves the goalpost, you'll have to conform again. You'll live a life of conforming. Now, again, men, testosterone. Women, estrogen. That's just the way that it is. They don't even feel the same about some things day to day. Some women can go extremely left on one thing and then extremely right on the other thing. So we can't be trying to conform to women, but it is important for us to find the right pairing, because a woman has to want to submit her authority and her cooperation to a man. That's why typically women can't be with more than one man. Even if she is trying to be dangerous out there, she'll end up liking one way more than she likes another one. It's just the facts. And men by nature, because they're territorial, it's difficult for a woman to juggle multiple men that are men. She can juggle multiple males, because if a male has a beta mindset, there'll be certain things that he's willing to allow to happen that a sigma or a alpha. I don't even consider myself an alpha. I consider myself, I'm a sigma. Okay, I'm a lone wolf. Okay, I got it. I can work in group settings, very much so. I love to work in group settings, but the reason that I typically find myself working alone is for the sake of, or the fact of the matter that I am not tolerant of men not doing what they're supposed to do. If we are supposed to be somewhere on time and you're always late, I I can't do that. And even though I love team sports, I want to just kind of illustrate something to you. Do you know why you don't see a team always winning the Super Bowl, always winning the NBA championship consistently every single year? It's because it takes a lot for multiple people to be on the same page at the same time for a long length of time. It takes a tremendous amount of focus. It takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice to be on that page. And even if you do achieve the success that you seek, once you get on that page, selfishness will breed its ugly head. Players will become more valuable and they'll demand more money. They ain't willing to take the pay cut that they did when they first got together, so on and so forth, because it's in a man's nature to want to have more. If he starts achieving success and getting more. You know what I'm saying? Well, okay. All right. So again, and I know I've been, rocking on this a long time, but it's very important for us to really, really understand that, ladies, it is not mandatory for you to go out there. Your currency is your beauty. And what I mean is your beauty being your currency is because your beauty can get you into all the doors that you're trying to get into. You can use another alternative method like going to school, getting a degree, becoming this and becoming that, getting this certification, getting that certification, making more money. And those things can work to get you into doors, but you've been given a key to get you into the doors. You got a master key to get into any door that you want to get into, and that's beauty. But it only gets you in the door. That's all it will do. That's all it will do. So for you thinking that your beauty is going to get you and keep you in the door, it's not. It's not. Because what will end up happening is, if the only thing that you have about you is beauty, and you are not cooperative, then the doors will open. And you remember that scene from you remember that constant scene from the Fresh Prince when Jazzy Jeff would get kicked out by Uncle Phil, get thrown out. That's what will happen. You will be thrown out of so many doors that you go into because of your beauty, because that's the only thing that you feel like you have to offer. When you get in the door, you have to offer competence and cooperation. The competence to be able to understand what's needed, and the cooperation to be able to do what's needed. I know you want to live a life of leisure where you don't have to do anything, but that's not reality. That's fantasy. I'm not saying it's not possible to live a life of leisure, but if you do things right when you get in a door, perhaps you create an environment of peace for your husband, and in turn, he create a life of leisure for you. That's how you get leisure. You want a man to spend money on you and take you on trips and do this, that, and the other? Get in there with your beauty. Get through the door with your beauty. Stay in the doors with your cooperation and competence. And that man will do anything for you. Because that's what we want to do for someone who creates something that's so important to us, which is peace. God uses a woman to provide a man peace, but the devil uses a woman to provide a man anarchy. And you don't realize how much anarchy you cause so many men that you deal with because you're only beautiful. And a lot of you have more to offer than beauty, but you ain't offering it. You got a job to offer your relationship, but you ain't offering it. You ain't offering that money. What good is, whether you're making $1 or $1 million a second, what good is your money if it's not going to be, if your man doesn't have access to it? He should have unlimited access to you. Unlimited access to what you got. If your wife goes out there and she hits the lottery, you as a man are supposed to have access to all of it. But as a man of righteousness, you're not going to be a bad steward of what you have access to. I'm not saying give a man access to your money and then he runs it down the toilet. No, what I'm saying is get the man that's worthy enough for you to submit to, worthy enough for you to cooperate with. A lot of you say all the time, I'll be submissive when I find the right one. And a lot of people have a problem with that. I kind of agree with that, and I don't. Even as a single woman, you're supposed to show those characteristics of submission. You're just not supposed to give it to everybody. But by the same token, just because you don't give that to everybody doesn't mean you have to be unruly and liberal and everything around people that you're not committed to. Does that make sense? Other people that's not connected to you are supposed to see you as a, a cooperative, easygoing, peaceful person. And they have to see, and men have to see it to offer and open up to you a relationship. And then a man, you have to see what the man's plans are and what steps he's taken and the progression he is taking to get there. If a man has the vision to do something and he's had that vision for a while, it's understandable for you to say, I'm wasting my time, because he wastes his time. But if a man has a vision to do something and he hasn't had the allotted period of time to be able to do it, especially in your young years, in your early 20s, girl, that is your opportunity to be a little patient. You don't have to have a child when you're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. You don't have to do that. But if you're meeting, me and my wife, we met, my wife was 21, I was 22, right? I believe that's the case. Yes, it was definitely 20, 21, 22, or 22, 23, whatever. I had to just think for a second. My wife had the patience to be able to see if my vision would go through. And that doesn't mean how long it takes to manifest. It means progression points, progress reports. If it takes me 5 years to get a business off the ground, that doesn't mean, it's 5 years, that's a long. No, there's a progress report. Okay, if there's 200 steps to do, how long does it take you to do the first step? How long does it take you to do the second step? Give yourself a realistic timeline. And then if you're with a guy and after 6 months, he hasn't progressed to where he reasonably should be, you can walk away. And you don't have to be tainted by giving up the draws. Just be like, look, we're not doing that right now. Before I give up the draws, I got to know that you are seriously progressing towards the vision that the Lord has for you. Because the most important thing that should be to a man is the vision that God has for his life. If a man doesn't know what the vision God has for his life, maybe he needs some time to figure that part out. Fellas, you have to know who you are first before you can really do anything else. Because once you know who you are, you know where you stand. Once you know where you stand, you know what you got to do. Once you know what you got to do, you can give yourself a timeline for doing it. I told my wife one time, hey, I want to try this. And I need about 90 days. By 90 days, this is where I expect to be. A, B, C. If I'm not there in 90 days, I'll put this to rest and I'll go and do this over here. It's for her to say okay to. It's for her to say okay to. And it's harder and harder the older a woman gets to say okay to a process. That's why they get delusional and they have these unruly, unreasonable expectations of meeting a man at the finish line. Her biological clock wants to meet him at the finish line, but it comes off to a man, you don't want to be down with me when things are, while I'm trying to come up. And you both have a point. But women don't have a lot of time, because if a woman is waiting, I'm sorry, this is going to rub some people wrong. I really don't care. It's the truth. So go rub yourself with it. If a woman is 40 years old, she doesn't have the same waiting period as a woman who is 30 years old or 20 years old. Do you understand? Really and truthfully, when a woman becomes the age of 30, she becomes higher risk for pregnancy. And it is in our nature as men to be fruitful and multiply. We want to create and continue legacies. And we can't really do that without children. And if we don't have our own children, and we run across a woman that has children, we're giving our legacy to the owner of the seeds of those children. This is why in the animal kingdom, a lot of animals will kill the babies that don't belong to him so he can make room for his babies that will belong to him. So when a lady is already at a space where she says, I'm not having any more children, she rules herself out of a quality man, because most quality men are going to want to have children. And a lot of women don't want to be with a man that's got children. I've heard women say, I don't want a man that's got children. And it's really baffling when she says that and she has children. That's really baffling. It's delusional. Are there men out there that will accept women with children? Yes, there are. Are there men out there that will marry a woman that doesn't want to have children or can't have children? Yes, they are. The real question, though, is that the kind of man you want to marry? And if that is the kind of man you want to marry, okay. But if that's not the kind of man you want to marry, then you're screwed. And most of the men out here that's going to tolerate you being unruly, tolerate you not wanting to have children, tolerate your attitude, tolerate you being unruly, tolerate you being independent, tolerate all of that crap are the men you don't want. Because you got them in your DMs. You got men in your DMs that will give you the sun, the moon, the stars, and the mountains. And you know that. And you don't entertain them. You might be a creep as a woman and let him take you out to dinner, let him fly you out, and give him some little nagging hope. But you don't want that guy. You just passing time. You know, I am hungry and I want to eat at Ruth Chris, but I don't want to pay for it. But Simpy over here, he will. Let me smile and bat my eyes at him and put on something sexy to get him going. And then ask him, would you like to go out for dinner? Yeah. I want to go out for dinner. Good. Pick me up at 7. And he'll be there at 6:45, waiting in his car. And you won't even have yourself together. And you done took a long time. You supposed to be ready. And you 45 minutes late trying to get ready. And you come out and you looking debonair because you beautiful, right? And he going crazy. He think he gonna get him some. He think you finally interested in him. And so he's on his P's and he's on his mud flucking Q's. And then guess what? After he takes you out to dinner, takes you out shopping, takes you wherever it is that he takes you that he knows that you want, you tell him, all right, it's getting late. I'm ready to go home. And his dumb hindparts ain't get nothing out of the deal and saying, but I'm building. I'm working towards it. I'm working towards it. See, that's why men be your friends. Ain't no benefit for a man being your friend. He's just a placeholder. He's standing by. He's in line. It's just like when you go to a job and they don't have any openings, they say, but we'll take your application, hold it, and we'll call you if something is available. So you still fill out that application. Yeah, you want that job right now, but you know that at least I'll fill out the application. There's men out there that do that. The problem is those aren't the men that you want. You don't look at those men as strong enough. You inwardly, it's not politically correct to say, but that turns you off. Turns you off when a man, it really, truthfully, it really turns a woman off when a man caters to her every whim. Yes, she likes the catering, but she loses respect for him because she knows she ain't got to do nothing to get it. A man, listen, and this is true. The man you're willing to do something for to have sex with him is the man that you're interested in. You ever wanted to have sex as a woman, and let's just say you want to have sex, And you don't just want to have sex with anyone, right? You want to have sex with a certain someone. So you pick up the phone and you call them and say, "Hey, big head, what's going on?" And you let him know what you feeling or whatever the case may be. And he says, "Well, I'm not coming out there tonight. You have to come over here." Now you can have sex with anybody you want. Remember, your DMs are popping, but see, here's the reality. You only want to have, you want him. And he's telling you, "I'm not coming over there tonight." And you say, "You don't want to clap these cheeks?" And he go, "I do, but I'm not coming over there to do it." You know why? Because if I wanted to clap some cheeks, I could clap cheeks with someone else. I could clap cheeks. I got 7 girls right now I can clap cheeks for. Should clap cheeks with. Now, I ain't clapping cheeks for no woman. But pause. But I got 7 women that I could call and say, "Give me some cheeks." And you know what they do? They come over and give me some cheeks. That kind of man that you're dealing with, right? You know that that's an option for him, right? And so since you know that's an option for him, guess what? If you want to secure what you're trying to secure with him, you'll go over there. You'll drive over there, even if he's an hour or 2 away, so you can get your cheeks clapped. See, you're only going to do that for somebody that you're interested in. But that guy who's in your DMs that's been trying to get with you, that you have no interest in, but you discover a couple of characteristics like, he drives a nice car. He looks like he's wearing nice suits. Looks like he's got some money. You will entertain that for entertainment purposes. But the problem is, at some point, you and I both know you're going to end up having to clap cheeks for him. But you've taken on such a masculine persona, you think you can compartmentalize that too. So you'll let, maybe after a few dates, you'll let him clap the cheeks or whatever the case may be. But you don't want anything with him. You don't want anything with him. But guess what? As a man, he's just happy to clap the cheeks. That's it. Now, if he's a real simp, "No, I want a relationship with you," he'll start acting like start operating in feminine energy. "No, I want access to a relationship with you," as if you give access to a relationship. I've seen that. I've seen where brothers they yearning and begging for a relationship with a woman that's not interested in having a relationship with them, and so they simp their way into. She says, "Oh, all right." But she's going to end up being dissatisfied because she didn't have any initial interest anyway. She knew. Now I understand if she don't have an interest in you because she don't know anything about you. But if she know about you and she still don't have any interest, see, that's why you court a girl. So like, for an example, you go to a woman and you say you're interested in a girl or whatever the case may be. You say, "Hey, let's go grab some lunch and talk." Okay. Then you start to get to know a little bit about the girl, and you start to get to know a little bit about the guy. And then early on, you can make a determination if you have any interest. I didn't say you want to marry the person, but I mean, you got to have initial interest. And for women, men are interested by what they see. Women don't become interested by what they see. They become more interested in what they hear. So usually a man is interested in a woman first. That's why by nature he goes to the woman and she doesn't come to him. But when a woman becomes interested is when she learns something about you. That's a fact. A woman, you take a woman out on a date. I promise you, oftentimes than not, that man has more interest at that particular point than she does. They hadn't gone on a date yet. They're engaging to go on a date. She's interested enough to learn more about you, so she has to have that interest. But you're interested because she's beautiful. But again, her beauty is just going to get her in the door. But that man can go out on a date with that girl that he's interested in and find out things about her and be like, "I'm not interested anymore." And that girl can go out on a date with a guy that she isn't interested in and learn something early on and say, wait a minute, I'm interested in this person. So fellas, don't get upset that a woman's not initially interested in you. She's really not supposed to be. And really, it could be a red flag if she's interested in you and she hadn't talked to you and don't know anything about you. Because why are you interested in me? Oh, you saw the car I was driving. That's why you're interested. Why are you interested in me? Oh, you saw the jewelry I had on. Okay. You saw my suit. So you have to approach those women carefully. Because most of the time, women are looking for security, and money is correlated to security to women. And it, in some cases, in most cases, it's synonymous for security with women. It's synonymous with women when it comes to, when I say securities, I'm talking about it's secure. What do we call money in the insurance industry? Securities, right? Money. Oh, okay. So women are not interested in men initially like men are interested in women initially. But ladies, you have to understand, beauty is something, but beauty is nothing. When it comes to men, beauty is something, but beauty is nothing. That is, beauty is going to, what I mean by that, beauty is something because that is the one of the greatest ways to get the attention of a man. But beauty is nothing when we unveil what's behind beauty and there's nothing of any value. And the only value behind beauty that a man is looking for is competence and cooperation. And really, not your competence for anything that doesn't deal with him, but your competence to cooperate. That means a man is looking for a woman who understands him to execute for him what he needs for his purpose. The competency in engineering, that your STEM competence means nothing to him. The only competence a man cares about, which you don't need an education for, you don't need experience for, or anything, is the competency to understand what he needs and what's the other word I'm looking for? Competency and cooperation, right? Cooperation. Yes, it's really is a different word, but it's the same thing. The competency to execute cooperatively. And I know that's not the word that I'm looking for, but it's a synonym. So you get it. Rewind the tape. So many things going through my mind that I'm trying to get out. Now, once he sees that, once you come in and he sees that you have the competency and interest to cooperate, that separates you. And the more cooperative you are, the more you separate yourself from the pack. This is why less attractive women have a chance too. But I told you, from a beauty standpoint, only thing that a woman needs to be concerned with is how to naturally take care of herself. Not how to put makeup on, not how to put eyelashes on, not how to fix those forehead curtains that y'all do like y'all grow baby hair. Your cooperation to your competency to cooperate is what a man seeks. That's it. Now, while you are competent and cooperating, here's the thing about beauty. If you have a competency to cooperate, it kind of falls hand in hand that you're going to make sure that you keep up on your beauty. Whether that means exercising, whether that means taking skincare, hair care, all of those things. Not, I'm not talking about the cumbrellas. I'm not talking about the fake hair. I'm not talking about any of that. Because really and truthfully, men don't care about that. But if the cooperation, if the competency and the cooperation is there, he won't mind that. Maybe you do those things to look, but I'm just telling you, most men, we not checking for women. We're not sitting over there in the corner like, man, I could never talk to that girl. Why, man? Why? Her eyelashes ain't long enough. I've never heard a man, and you've never heard a man, make a decision about talking to a woman based on the length of her eyelashes. And I've never seen a man, ever, not a man, maybe a beta, maybe a male, but I've never seen a man say, I don't find her attractive unless she has those thick, fake eyelashes on, unless she has fake hair on her head, unless her face is beat by makeup. I've never heard a man say that. I've never heard a man make a decision on a woman for that. So, ladies, you're not doing that. You can't be doing that for us. Either you are doing that for someone else, or you don't have the competency to know that those things that you're influenced to put on you, only other women are checking for that. So are you doing this for women? And why are you doing it for women? Why in the world would you be doing that for women? Women don't. Okay, so these girls think you look good. Where is your Cracker Jack prize then? Where is that at? It's a pointless thing. Unless your man tells you that he wants you to do something, you shouldn't even be concerned about doing it. I ain't doing this for no man. Well, I respect that. But if you are trying to get a man and keep a man, you are going to comply with that man. You can't be with a man and be non-compliant. I keep telling you, it's not going to work. You think you're going to defy the odds. That's not going to work. It's just not. So, you're going to have to make a decision, ladies. You still have to advertise that you're a compliant, peace-creating woman everywhere you go. You can't, first of all, y'all don't have a switch because y'all are too feeling-based. You can't be this unruly, independent thinking, masculine wielding woman and expect, oh, I'll turn that off once I run across the right man, the man that deserves it. I'll be submissive once the right man comes around. No, instead of advertising your boobs and advertising your butt and doing all of that other stuff like that, which you should be advertising to anybody because you never know who's looking. What you should be advertising is that you are a competent, cooperating woman. That shows submission. Even in everyday life. I'm not saying let people walk over you. But like when, for an example, when you get some instructions, you never know who's watching you on how you are handling those instructions. If you have a father and you don't want to have a relationship with your father because of what your mother told you about your father, that's a red flag. You should be able to form your own conclusions about your father. That's your father. It might not have worked out with mommy. And usually when mommy, because mommy is feeling based, women are spaghetti brains, and and men are waffle brains. Okay, men can compartmentalize, where it's our nature to compartmentalize. Women, when one thing bothers them, they let it affect other things in other aspects of their life. It's usually not a compartmentalization right there. So, because of that, we want to see that. We want to see what types of things you're into. We want to see, hey, look, what happened to your dad? Is your dad around? Yeah, he's around. You don't reach out to your dad? No. Why? What happened? Nothing. He wasn't around when I was growing up. My mom doesn't really like him. My mom used to say, did your mom used to say all these bad things about your dad? Yeah, my mom said my dad won't this, my dad won't that, my dad won't this, my dad won't that. Did you ever talk to your dad? No. Why? Because he ain't nothing. But he nothing to your mother. But what information did you come to the conclusion that your dad was nothing? And you're sitting there dumbfounded in your mind like, I really haven't had an experience to form an opinion about him. Well, then, even if it's at a safe distance, start trying to find out what dad's side of the story is. And you got to prepare yourself. It may be different, but then allow yourself an opportunity to see how he moves. You may be surprised. Daddy ain't nothing like mama said. Some women don't want their children to have a relationship with their dad. Some women will disown their child for wanting to have a relationship with their dad. And if that's not a red flag, my goodness. I want you to understand and know that this isn't about getting on one side of the gender and not the other side. We all need some things to work on. We all need help. But instead of saying, you go first, let's just look in the mirror and let's just work on the things about ourselves. It's things about you that you can look in the mirror and see. And those are the things that you at least start working on first. Some of the things about you can't see as well. But but I believe that if you're working on the things that you can see, it kind of clears the vision for the things that you can't see. Pretend you have a little Mazda Miata. Those are really small cars. And pretend in front of that Mazda Miata is a semi-truck, okay? And now pretend they're both standing still, okay? And now pretend you are standing in front of the semi-truck. How much visibility of the Mazda Miata are you going to have? It's there, but can you see it? Nope, you probably can't. You can probably see that it is a car behind it because you look under the truck and you say, something behind there, but you can't make out what it is. All right? But you will never be able to see what's truly behind the truck until you get the truck moved. And so that's what I mean by work on the things that's obvious about you, because once you get it out of the way, you'll be able to see the other issues about you that's behind that. You'll be able to see the other issues that's behind that. But see, a lot of us, we know that there's some issues about us that we can't quite put our finger on. And we go on an all-out assault on trying to find out what those issues are. Deal with the issues in front of you first. You may not find out that you have a health problem with one of your organs until you get rid of the issue that's in front of it. Maybe you're overweight. And I know you're beautiful to you and you're happy with you and no body shaming, right? But the reality of the situation is, if you have an underlying issue that you don't know about, that the only way to find out about is removing what's in front of it, you got to remove what's in front of it. Maybe the issue that you have underlying is because of the issue that's in front of it. And getting rid of the issue that's in front of it makes the underlying issue go away. Sometimes the issues that are deeper go away because of you addressing the issues that's more on the surface. It's like diabetes, right? You have diabetes and you have a lot of weight on you. So you focus, instead of you focusing on the diabetes as much, like as the focal point, you just focus on losing weight. And then when you start losing weight, your A1C goes down. And then the next thing you know, you don't have type 2 diabetes anymore. So you really just addressed what was on top of the diabetes. You got rid of that gut. And because you got rid of that gut, you became less predisposed to certain illnesses and diseases. So sometimes it's just being honest and looking in the mirror. And what you see, just start working on that. You look in the mirror, literally, and you see that your face has, you have acne, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. So you start researching, you start developing something where you can naturally work on purifying your skin. And now you purified your skin, and now your acne went away. Now that your acne went away, the underlying issue under the acne went away. And the underlying issue under the underlying issue went away. Come on. Sometimes it just takes you looking in the mirror, seeing what's obvious, and start working on that. And not shortcut working on it. I'm not telling you to go and, oh, I got some extra weight. I'm going to go and I'm going to pay to have that weight sucked out of me. I mean, you can do that. But the problem when you do that is the things that got you in that situation, you still are going to, those are still habits that you have. So you can lose that, but it'll come right back. But now if you make changes, and as a result, you lose that, well, you develop habits that you can continue to have, and more than likely that issue won't come back because you changed up what you were doing. Insanity, you keep doing the same thing. That's why I'm against unnatural methods more so than natural methods, because natural methods will more than likely cause you to make changes. Unnatural methods is the shortcut way of getting rid of what you're trying to get rid of, but you didn't change. What you were doing got you in that situation. And because you're still doing that, you might have a period where things are different, but eventually things will get right back to where it was. You know, guys, I know that there are certain methodologies and or make the video short or whatever the case may be. But honestly, I get up here and I talk about what I want to talk about, and I go as long as I feel like I need to go, and I don't want to conform to anybody else's structure. So if you made it this far, it's because you wanted to make it this far. If you didn't make it this far, it's because you didn't need to make it this far. And this ain't for you, or this might not be the season. I might put this video out and nobody sees it. And then all of a sudden, there is a surge of people seeing it. I just think everything happens for a certain reason. This is just a seed. I don't have any control over the germination. I have no control over when it's going to harvest. And I can't say I have any expectations of if it's going to harvest. Sometimes we sow seeds and they never grow because of one reason or another. Maybe the ground conditions wasn't conducive to growing that. I mean, I can grow orange trees in Florida, but I can't grow orange trees as easy in Montana. The weather's changed. The conditions are different. So I'm saying this to say, as a seed sower, which all of us are, we're just responsible for putting out the seeds according to our path and letting the Most High do whatever it is that he feel like he wants to. Because if you know the story about the bamboo tree, the first year it doesn't grow. The second year it doesn't grow. The third year, fourth year, boom, fifth year grows 80 feet. So you got to be able to have the vision. That's why I was saying earlier about a man with a vision. It is up to you, ladies. It is up to you. Your comprehension. If don't feel bad if you can't comprehend what he's saying. It just might not be meant for you to understand what he's saying. So if a man lays out his vision and his plan and it doesn't make sense, don't tease him about it. Don't get on him about it. Just quietly make a notation. You don't get it. You don't understand it. And because you don't get it and you don't understand it, you can't get down with it. Okay? And then you move on. But if you get what he's saying, now it's the breakdown from the end to the beginning. Okay, what are the steps that need to be taken? Let's figure that out. And you might need to help him with the steps. See? Because you're his helpmate. See, you might need to come in his life to get his vision off the ground. So just because a man ain't at the finish line, it doesn't mean he ain't meant to get to the finish line. You may be the help to get him to the finish line. And you may be the person that the reason he gets to the finish line is because of what you bring to the table in terms of your cooperation and your, gosh, I think I just forgot this word, but your compliance, I guess, is another word for it. We're gonna get all these words out there, right? Your competence to be compliant to him. So if I'm okay, I'll use me as an example. When I met my wife, my wife now, okay, she asked me what it is. She taught me this. She said, "What do you want to do? You have so much talent. What do you want to do?" I want to have an insurance agency. And she said, "Okay. Are you working towards that right now?" "No, I can't work towards that right now." "Why?" Because I'm dealing with this thing. And okay, all right, so we got to deal with that. So she helped me deal with that. Then after that was out of the way, she said, okay, before she'd help me deal with that, she said, if you get that out of the way, will you be able to, pursue it? Yeah. Okay, then what's the next step after you get this thing that's holding you up out of the way? And I said to her, well, once I get that out of the way, I would study, go get my license, and then what I would do is get my E&O insurance. I would need to get that, and then I would start working with so and so and so, and then they're over there making such and such and such, and so I know that I can put in the same effort, and I can do that if they can do that. And then she said, how long will that take? I said, oh, well, it'd probably take a few months after everything's all said and done in background check. She said, okay. And then she said, and so, a year from now, where do you see yourself? Well, if a year from now, if I'm consistently doing this many appointments and closing this much business, and then I estimate that I'll make this much, yes, so I estimate that I'll make this much by then. And so she just took a notation of that, and then it made sense to her. And then there were certain things that I needed, like I needed my testing materials, but I didn't have it to get it, so she got that testing material. She knew that I was going to want to get my own place, and she knew that she was in a position to help me, and I wasn't in a position to help myself in regards to my credit. So she started knocking things off of my credit, and it was like some of you say, "Well, I'll never do that for a guy," but look at me now. Look at me now. If you knew the outcome was going to be the outcome, you would do it. You would take a chance. But she also was able to take a chance because she was in her 20s. So that is the role of a woman. A role of the woman is to be a helpmate and a companion. She ain't got to be nothing else. If she's a helpmate, if she's helping you with your vision, and she's your companion, she's creating an environment of peace, I'm telling you, it's all a man cares about. It's all a man needs. And if you got some money, that's a perk, only if you're going to share it. But a lot of the women out here, they feel like all of their money is for them. And that's fine. You just ain't a team player. Because what's the point in you doing anything that doesn't serve us? I do that for me. Okay, and you should do that for you when you're single, but when you're married, you're not single. Everything you do is about us. Everything I do is about us. We shouldn't even be married if we have individualized mindsets about what we're going to do for ourselves. I got to do this for me. I got to do this for me. No, the team goals should be the individual goals. You play basketball, I want the scoring title. I want to lead the league in assists, points, and rebounds. I want to be able to I want to lead the league in steals. I want to be defensive player of the year. I want to be MVP. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay, how would that help the team? Oh, to help the team, we'll be winning, we'll be winning. Okay, can you give me an example of who has done that and we're winners? And then you can't think of none. And then you recognize all of the people that won. They sacrificed those things that you say that you want to be number one at. When Kevin Durant came to Golden State, Steph Curry knew he had to sacrifice some shots, but Steph Curry wanted to win championships more than individual accolades. And guess what? When Kevin Durant came there, they won. And guess what? Everything that he sacrificed came back full circle. He might not have got that money from the Golden State Warriors, but he got that money in endorsements. What's that girl, Sha'Carri Richardson? They said she signed this crazy big contract, $569 million or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was huge. Biggest contract ever, right? Track never paid her that, but it was because of track that she got in a position to get that. LeBron makes more money off the court than he makes on the court. And some of you question, he always wanted to be teamed up with this teammate, that teammate, or whatever the case may be. But what they don't talk about is the money that he left on the table to make sure that he had those things happen for him. Because he knew he had the fortuitous thought to know that being a champion is going to be much more marketable than me not being a champion. Because if you remember when he came in the league, Carmelo Anthony, it was like 1A and 1B when it came to LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. Some liked Carmelo Anthony as a player more than they liked LeBron. But you know the difference between the two of them? Their career paths had different trajectories. Carmelo, plenty of scoring, plenty of rebounding. Carmelo ain't got no championships. And even though LeBron James ain't Bill Russell in terms of championships, LeBron's a champion. And when we start to really scrutinize and look at his losses, look at the teams he lost to. So when we start comparing him to Michael Jordan and we say, well, Michael is 6 for 6, who did Michael play against? And who did LeBron play against? Well, Michael Jordan would average this today, and Michael Jordan would average that today. But let me tell you something. Dan Marley, Rex Chapman, Clyde Drexler, and we can take LeBron James and we can take Michael Jordan out of the equation, and we can take those players that I named. No, watch this. We can tell you that if you take LeBron James and you take Michael Jordan out of the equation and you compare the leagues, you think the players were better in Michael Jordan's era than they are in LeBron's era? You're delusional if you think that players didn't run faster, jump higher, get stronger, and last longer. You're being in your feelings and you're being delusional. And if that's where you want to be, that's where you want to be. But what I'm saying is, in reality isn't concerned about fantasy. No, we don't know if LeBron James and Michael Jordan truly played, who would win, because we have no way of knowing that. But what we can say is what they went up against, we can measure what they went up against. Look, you think that the Utah Jazz, the way it was constructed in 97 and 98, you think that Utah Jazz team would run through the West? Or do you think they would have more challenges and problems in the West? You think Greg Ostertag was going to get out and run with Anthony Davis, get out there and run with Giannis Antetokounmpo? You think that he was going to do that? You think he was going to be effective? When we already see in modern day age, we see Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, set many games because he couldn't play because of who he was going up against. Yeah, he's tall and yeah, he's a shot blocker, just like the days are old. But I'm telling you, that doesn't work today because these guys, the Carl Anthony Towns, the Anthony Davis, the Giannis's, these guys move too fast, sideways and straight, for Rudy Gobert to have any effectiveness. Now, it's great when the game slow down. He can just, hang out in the paint minus the 3 seconds, the 3 second violation, and he can just hang out in the paint. And anybody come in there, he can challenge their shot. But I'd even question that too. These guys are jumping out of the gym. Who was jumping out of the Jordan could jump out of the gym. But who else was jumping out of the gym? Yeah, you had Sean Kemp, but he was a big man. A big man that could jump. But who was we had, Robert Pack, he could jump high. There's a few guys back there that could jump high, but most of those guys was like Steve Kerr, Craig Elo, Mark Price. Fantastic players, but inferior athletically than what's today. Of course, we would love to see, could the Chicago Bulls take the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant and beat them? Some will say yes, some will say no, but the reality is we'll never know. But what we do know is every NBA final team that the Chicago Bulls played, we can say athletically, none of them was more superior. We can say none of them shot more threes and made them than the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So we gotta check our feelings, man. And we just got to, if we're gonna do anything to alter the reality, we gotta own the reality that it is what it is. But change comes from within. If you want to change what's going on around you, you have to change what's inside of you. That's the only way. And that's going to take serious commitment. So let's get to it, guys. Let's stop this mess about assuming or creating an alternate reality. And let's just deal with the reality we have. It's the best chance that we have of surviving. If I pretend that there's no cars coming in the intersection and I drive delusionally through the intersection, I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get hurt or worse. That's the danger of being delusional. That's the danger of thinking with your feelings. This is why it's dangerous for women to be exposed. They're supposed to be covered from the day they're born to the day they die. That means when they come into this world, that daddy is crucial, not only for the boy, but for the girl. Crucial. At some point, the boy is going to be uncovered and released. The girl should never be uncovered under any circumstances. That means if she's 20 years old, 21, 22, and she ain't got a husband, she's supposed to stay with her dad. She's supposed to stay with her dad and show great value to him too. Because even though that's not his woman, she's still supposed to show and prove beneficial to her father because it's going to carry over to her husband. And yes, when she gets a husband, she's going to be able to express with her husband physically in a way she can't and not supposed to express with her father. But all of the other things she's supposed to express. Ain't no way I'm having a teenager in the house and they're not cooking for me as a father, cleaning for me as a father, making sure that I'm comfortable, providing me peace, all that other stuff like that. Ain't no way. They're supposed to serve me in that capacity. Not romantically, but generally everything else. When you have a wife, yes, you get to express that romantically. Or when I say romantically, I mean physically, right? I love my mother. I could never express my love to my mother like I express my love to my wife because my wife has never been my mother and my mother has never been my wife. They don't compare. But I had to learn how to love my mother because she's a female in order to be able to carry that over to love my wife. Because when it comes to my mother, I want to protect her. And if it's something that she needs, I want to provide it for her. And when I was growing up with her, I had to listen to her and be obedient to her. Excuse me. It's getting late. But guys, I enjoyed myself rapping with you guys. I hope that I said something today that resonated, that can you can apply to your life and help you. And I'd love to be able to hear back from you about your success. But I didn't come up with the formula of what I'm saying. It's finding out what it is that you need to do, working on those things, looking in the mirror, seeing what you don't like about yourself, and doing what you got to do to make the change, and everything else just falls in line. It's just not a secret. I don't have a formula of that, a special formula with some secret sauce to give you secret exclusive results. It's just not that. It's very, very simply said. You got to do the work. You got to roll up your sleeves and you got to do the work, whether you're a man or a woman. Men, you have to have the vision, and you have to know who you are, so you can go ahead and pursue your vision. Then you recognize what you need, and that helps you identify who you're going to be with, because you wouldn't waste your time being with somebody that ain't gonna help you with your vision. And then spilling over to the woman's side, all that matters about you is, that matters in the dating market, is your beauty, your competency, and your cooperation. All that other stuff, especially if you're not going to bring it to the, and even if you bring those things to the table, the job, the experience, you're good with computers, you're good with law, you're good with this, you're good with that, all of that stuff really is useless unless it's specifically for the relationship. But most of the time, men don't care about your money. If he's got his own, he might not have as much as you. They don't care about it. Unless you're bringing it to the table, what are you out there making money for? Why would you go out there and make money and your family don't reap from what you reap? I'm the breadwinner in my family. But if my wife hit the lottery, that money is ours. I wish she would. Now, this isn't a threat to her, because I don't threaten my wife, but what I'm saying is, I'm speaking objectively now. I wish a woman would. I wish a woman would have a mindset that what's his is hers and what's hers is hers. She can have that mindset as an individual, being single. That ain't gonna never work when she gets married.